Hi, and welcome to the online training module on early childhood and development, self and relationships. This training is a collaborative effort between the Center for Early Education and Development at the College of Education and Development and the Center for Advanced Studies in Child Welfare at the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota. This training module is part of an online training effort that covers a wide range of topic areas in child welfare. In this module, I'm going to talk about attachment development in children and their relationships, including current research findings in this area. Welcome to the online training series. I'm Rukmini Avadhanam, a graduate student at the University of Minnesota. I will be guiding you through this module. Let's review what the module is going to talk about. This module will draw on principles from attachment theory, self regulation, and how they are related to child welfare practices. Each of these modules serve as an introduction to different topics. This section of the module is meant to be a brief overview. We recommend that you go over the resource page to get a deeper insight into the topics that you find relevant. Here are some of the things that we will be discussing in this module. What is attachment and why is it important for infants? Biological basis of attachment, attachment theory, the signs of neglect. Why is it important for child welfare workers to understand attachment? How can child welfare workers help with birth and foster parents in establishing attachment with the children? Let's talk about what attachment is. A child has a secure partner that they can rely on that will respond to their needs. Attachment assures survival to children, meets needs like being fed, held, and protected. Attachment relationships form in the initial 36 months of life. Early attachment can influence later relationships across the lifespan. Why is attachment important for infants? Once infants know that their needs are being met, they are then free to explore, play, and learn. Let's watch a video and learn more about attachment.
Child where a parent has positive intentions of loving and care and concern, the child will pick up those intentions. And even if you goof up as a parent, the child's going to pick up that you didn't mean to do that, you didn't mean to hurt them, you misunderstood, it was a rupture that they didn't intend, and there's a repair that's made. So repairing ruptures is the most essential thing in parenting. And a child will pick up your intention to do good by them, to really make a connection that's loving, supportive, even if it can't happen all the time. Just being human. They see the whole intention behind those actions, and their mirror neuron system is filled with a sense of, wow, it's possible to be human and still be full of love.
Let's talk about the biological basis of attachment. An infant is biologically geared towards bringing adults into their world to protect them. Adults, caregivers, are designed to biologically respond to infants. For instance, looking at infants and speaking in a little high voice called motheress so infant can respond to it with high-pitched tones. Humans are hardwired to connect, be connected to other human beings, specifically a primal caregiver. Here is a brief infographic that talks about self regulation. I want you to understand that we develop capacity for self regulation from bottom to top, but we also go back and forth a lot throughout our lives depending on circumstances. For instance, birth to 3 months, completely relying on parents and caregivers, and caregiver cued regulation starts at 3 to 6 months. If I trust you to meet my needs, I can regulate myself sometimes. And then co regulation happens between 12 and 18 months where attachment happens. Knowing that you're there helps me regulate. Caregiver guided self regulation happens in toddlerhood. I can do it for a while, but I need a lot of scaffolding. Monitored self regulation happens during preschool and school age, and consistent regulation up to late adolescence and adulthood. Learning about that, let's talk a little bit more about attachment theory and what mental representations are. Attachment theory discusses that the role of daily lived experiences of interaction with primary caregivers are stored as memory templates. They are termed as internal working models or mental representations, and they incorporate the cognitive and affective elements of caregiving experiences. So, these mental working models, the mental representations, guide behaviors and expectations within social relationships of children and also parents' relationships with children. So, for instance, an internal working model of the self develops when an infant interacts with others. A child develops beliefs about how acceptable oneself is based on responsiveness of primary caregivers. Let's talk about what science of neglect is. Absence of responsive relationships can cause a serious threat to child's development and well-being. Chronic neglect is associated with a wider range of damage than active abuse. Young children who experience limited caregiver responsiveness may sustain a range of adverse physical and mental health consequences. These can cause cognitive delays, stunted physical growth, and impairments in function and self regulation. Neglect also disrupts how children's brains develop and process information. It alters development of biological stress response systems and it is associated with significant risk of emotional and interpersonal conflicts. So, why is it important for child welfare workers to understand about attachment? The process of attachment and forming relationships occurs over a period of time. The first 3 years of life are critical for formation of attachment and bonds. Disruptions in who is caring for a child can negatively impact this process. However, changes to a more stable, nurturing caregiver can support this process. Addressing the distinctive needs of children experiencing significant neglect is necessary. Investing in prevention programs that intervene as early as possible is also helpful. What is the importance of quality attachment relationships? Quality of attachment relationships build brain architecture that we have talked about and lay foundations for child's emotions. Early acceptance and attachment relate to later adult relationships. Attachment partners predict the relationships children have with other adults. It builds foundation for how children behave in close relationships. So, how can child welfare workers help foster parents in establishing attachment with the child? Continue stressing the importance of how crucial they and their relationships are to the baby or a child, not working to erase the memories of the child but to help them put those memories into a context. Help the children create stories of how they came to be in resolving memories of early experiences, establishing or sustaining relationships between foster parents and birth parents that can strengthen the information sharing about caregiving and increasing the attachment with the child. How can child welfare workers help birth parents in creating secure attachments with children? Sharing information with caregivers about attachment, giving opportunity for parents to reflect on what do I want to do differently? What do I want to continue to do? Help parents realize the importance of everyday caregiving activities. For instance, hair combing routine is seen as a way to strengthen parent child attachment in some cultures. Explain the importance of servant written and positive verbal interactions with children. So, I'd like to end this module with a summary of what we have covered in this module so far. We took a brief look at attachment, what attachment is, and why it is important for the survival of children to ensure that their needs are met. We also talked about attachment and its importance in infants to develop and sustain relationships in the later stages of life, and how absence of attachment and responsive relationships can lead to adverse physical and mental health consequences. We finally also talked about how child welfare workers can support both birth and foster parents in establishing attachment and responsive relationships with children. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video completely. I invite all of you to go over to the resource page on this topic here and feel free to reach out to Cashew or Seed for more information as you browse through the resources. We look forward to any feedback that you may have for us. Thank you so much.